In my field of infectious diseases, we believe that we've discovered new things on a regular basis. But one can really find many of the new things that we've discovered have all been found and have makoros in the Gemara. If one looks in the Gemara in Ksubis and Daf Ayin Zayin Amud Beis, there's a fascinating story about Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi went to visit people that had a certain type of parasitic infection. It's unclear to me exactly what infection we're talking about, but some sort of a central nervous system, some sort of a brain parasite, known as, the people that had this condition were known as the Bali Rason. This was a very, very contagious disease. The Gemara relates how many of the Amoraim really discussed all the basic principles of infection control that we know today, how disease is spread. One of the Amoraim talks about how disease could be spread in what we call the fecal-oral route, how disease can be found in a person's waste, and if that waste comes into contact with the food system, with the water system, it can cause tremendous disease. The Gemara discusses this well before it was understood by medical science as a possible means of communication of disease from one person to another. The Gemara talks about insects being a vector for this disease, also something that was not really well understood until much more modern times. People have Lyme's disease, people have malaria, all sorts of other parasitic and other types of infectious diseases. The Gemara realizes this and discusses how people would stay downwind from various illnesses or people that had illnesses in order to make sure that these diseases couldn't be transmitted. The Gemara discusses many other potential forms of communication of disease from one person to another, vectors from animals, from food, from the air. The Gemara understood the concept of airborne spread of disease, what we would call respiratory isolation. So we see the Gemara understood everything. Hafoch ba v'afoch ba v'kula ba. We just unfortunately sometimes don't have the basic understanding. A person has to go check out, look in, flip, constantly search. One can find everything in the Torah. One of the most interesting and most complex areas of the body that we have today in medical science is how the body knows to fight off infection. It is absolutely unbelievable that the body can recognize what it has to fight and what it doesn't have to fight. Your body contains more bacteria inside of it than it does cells. Looking at it from a certain perspective, you're the parasite on your body's organisms, rather than the organisms inside your body being parasites on you. Because there are more bacteria in the human body than there are human cells. Yet, you don't attack yourself. A healthy person doesn't constantly attack those bacteria that are located all over the body, inside the body and outside, because those bacteria are actually helping the body to prevent getting sick. And yet, when you inhale or you ingest or somehow certain bacteria enter your body, all the warning alarms go off. And all of a sudden, the same bacteria that if it's found in part of your intestine doesn't cause any damage, doesn't cause any harm, and doesn't cause your body to react to it, and that very same bacteria is found in another part of your body, all of a sudden the body masses tremendous armamentarium, different types of cells, different types of hormones, different types of kinins that can go and attack that specific organism in that specific place and eradicate that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has truly created an amazing human body, the human immune system, which medical science is only now slowly at the tip of the iceberg beginning to realize the complexity and the brilliance and the amazing way that our immune system works.
I know that people have an obligation to take care of themselves. I know people always used to say about those who smoked that they should know the pasuk Shma'atim Yodas Nafshi Seichem, but that they have to be careful to watch their souls, obviously their body and their souls. But I'm sure that today has to do with not only smoking, but overweight and doing exercise, and I'm as guilty as everybody else, but so maybe you could give me some mussar on that.
I would never think to give Rabbi Krohn mussar. I think that, yes, it is very important that people have to understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us this beautiful body that we've been talking about. In the secular world, they say that it's a temple. Your body is a temple. And this is emes.
Right,
your body is a mikdash ma'at. And a person has to take care of it. In general, exercise is very important for a person. Go listen to a Rabbi Krohn tape. Go listen to another shiur while you're taking a walk. Take a walk with your wife. Wonderful for shalom bayis, as well as a chance to talk to your wife, reinvigorate your marriage, and at the same time, you're getting some exercise. When you're doing certain activities, there's nothing wrong with doing them in a kosher way, in a way that's acceptable both physically and halachically, to make sure that you do take care of yourself. Certainly abusing your body with cigarettes or excessive amounts of alcohol, Rahmana litzlan, other things, you're dealing with Isurim D'Oraisa potentially, and certainly you're not fulfilling the mitzvah of taking care of your body. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us 120 years, Be'ezus Hashem, on this world. It's akin to murder if you stop that 120
You know
year
what?
process.
Somebody told me, we were at a cardiologist, and he mentioned something phenomenal. He said he heard it from his grandfather or whatever, heard it from a Rebbe. It says, Bereshis Bora. In the beginning, a person has to worry about brios, about health, because otherwise he can't be Makayim Kol HaTorah Kula.
It's very true. And I would say the same idea applies when people rely excessively on physicians. One of the famous Vertlach I always heard about, Tov Shebarofim Legehenim. So the gematria of Tov is 17.
Right.
So the physician who thinks that the 18th bracha, that's my domain. The 17th bracha is that you got to deal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
But
he says a Tov, the Tov, that's God's business. The Rifeinu, that's my business. So such a Rifei is unfortunately not in this world. He's going to end up someplace else. A person has to realize that you're supposed to seek medical advice. We don't live in a madrega, we don't live in a level where a person's allowed to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me this, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu has to take it away, and all I'm going to do is daven. We have to make his shtadlus. We have to do preventative measures. It says, Kol hamachlo shesamti b'Mitzrayim lo osim olecha, ki ani Hashem rofecha. Why so many? And in the Haggadah that we have 200 makas, 250 makas, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised us, anything that I gave to Mitzrayim, I won't give to you. So the Tanoim are looking, how many more makas did he give us in Mitzrayim? So there's less for us.
Right.
So preventative medicine is a very important thing, taking care of oneself. And Rahman Islam, if somebody does get sick, to seek the proper medical attention, along with always halachic advice. Nothing is clear. A Rav always needs to be consulted, but a physician needs to be consulted where appropriate as well.
In other words, that you're saying that the Tov Shebarofim, that a person has to realize it's not necessarily, it's only the doctor.
The doctor's a shaliach.
It's Dr. Shliach.
I hope I'm a good shaliach sometimes, but I'm a shaliach. When I stop thinking that I'm a shaliach, when any physician stops thinking he's the shaliach and he thinks that he's the shaliach, so then such a Tov Shebarofim Legehenim.
Right.